Following that terrible Panther 2 match on Tundra, I felt I had to make it up somehow, so I brought out the Centurion and ended up in a tier 9 match on Muravanka, on the south spawn, which is the spawn I like to get. According to XVM, we have quite a few decent players on our team. Unfortunately, most of them turned out to be completely useless. They headed towards H9 and hid their all game without actually doing anything. So it ended up falling on myself and Quasar to do most of the work. So I'm staying pretty far back on this ridge here. So I'm moderately hull down to the northern part of the ridge, and also I'm far enough back I won't be easily spotted from B1. I was expecting the T-54 to head there, but he didn't. First thing lit is the A44 in center. Not exactly where I'd take an A44, but he gets lucky, and I miss an easy shot. It's having connection issues as usual. That shot also misses, somehow, but I am finally able to get home to him now. And targets begin appearing. So the T-29's up, get a nice hit into him, but then he begins making it difficult for me by rolling backwards and forwards as he reloads, and I think there was a wall or something that my shells were hitting. Maybe part of the roof of that house or shed or whatever it is. T-34 is also up, and the T-54 has been lit in town. I'm not going to have much luck against a hull down T-34 at this distance with the Centurion, but the Carnarvon I can actually handle, especially since he doesn't know how to hull down. He crests the hill, gets tracked. Unfortunately, he repairs before I can reload, and as he backs down, my shot goes into his gun mantlet and bounces. Scrubbed my shot there as well on the SU-101. There are a lot of very shitty shots from me this match. Sophie gets a decent hit into him, but she is not in a good spot. Carnarvon sits out in the open, pays for it. Not somewhere I would expect a Carnarvon to go. I would expect him to be where the T-29 is. I would think that a medium would be in B1, but apparently not. Unfortunately, Sophie's overextended. I can't really do anything to help her without also throwing my own tank away. That's not a bad position to be in, it's just not ideal when the rest of your team are all sitting on the east side of the map doing nothing. If we'd had more people push west, it would have been fine. But as it happens, it's only myself, the Waffenträger, the Chiri, and the Panther over here. And they're all hanging back as well. You can see this cluster of fucking idiots down in H9 and H0. Somebody said E75 did good because it took them a lot of hits to die, but if you drive into that forest knowing you've got no support and take a lot of hits without doing anything, it's not exactly doing good. So you'll notice there are actually 3 blues in that cluster. Remembering that pale purple on my XVM config is equivalent to blue on a standard config. So there are 3 blues over there, sitting around on that hill doing nothing. It goes to show how useful stats are in judging some of these people. I mean, you can't be good at the game and have bad stats, it's physically impossible. So anyone with bad stats is guaranteed to be a bad player. The problem is there are a lot of people with good stats who haven't actually earned them. These guys being an example. So honestly, when it comes to reading XVM, I treat everyone as bad until they prove otherwise. It's just handy to know exactly how bad So I'm up to nearly 1700 damage so far, just from sitting on this ridge taking shots when I get the chance. Tiger 2 makes a mistake by pushing up. My shot does bounce off of him, but he gives me his side, which if that shot hadn't deviated high into his gun mantlet, that would have hit his ammo rack. That one almost certainly hit his ammo rack. Now here, if he kept backing up, he would have been able to draw me around the corner or at least hide from me. Instead, he does the inexplicable and charges out into the open, giving myself his side, giving the Waffenträger his side, and basically condemning himself. He could have had the two of us tied down if he'd stayed on that corner and spotted us for the T-54, T-34-3 and the T-95. So here we go, the T-54 now charges in after the Tiger is already dead. So he's waited for his teammates to die before actually taking any action himself, which is a mistake on his part. Now, I am above him, so his upper plate is actually where I want to shoot. If I shoot his lower plate, it's too angled. Remembering your own position in relation to an enemy tank is important when you're trying to figure out armor angles. So as you can see, because I am above him, that angle is a lot better than it normally would be. It's not flat, but it's more like 40 or 50 degrees than 55 or 60 or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's not quite 1-for-1 at this stage, but it's getting close. Most tanks are low health at this point, on both teams. Artillery is doing alright, but all the same I feel like I can't really trust the team. I can trust Quasar, that's about it. So instead of pushing into the forest into an unspotted T-95 like the rest of the team were about to do, I decided to cut across, take a quick snapshot at the AT-7 but missed. And I'm able to get a shot into him there. I decide I may as well get a move on instead of sitting around trying to finish him off. Quasar gets him for me. The T-95's lit, but it's a T-95, so if it's got its front to me, which it now does, I have practically no chance of penning it. So I just decide to close the distance, keeping the buildings between myself and it, because it can now one-shot me. This gun does 750 damage, I have 586 health. Even if it low rolls, it will one-shot me. Artillery is also very low on health and heading straight towards the last spotted position of the Artie. I was worried he was going to get shotgunned. He gets 2 shots out of his 3, and then sure enough he does get shotgunned. Thankfully I make a snapshot which connects with the Artie, and then it's just myself, Quasar, and the T-95. The T-95 was last seen heading towards our base, so I circle wide around it. I don't want to give it any chance to get a shot into me. At this stage, our team seemed to think something about my performance showed that I needed their advice after they all rolled over and died without doing anything. And it was actually getting really distracting having chat constantly come up with idiots' advice, basically. First shot misses. Sorry about the choppy sound, I don't know what's going on there. Quasar gets hit, but I managed to clean up the T-95. And so that's a 3.4k almost damage game in the Centurion in a Tier 9 match. Just playing pretty carefully, because the rest of my team were just being completely useless. They needed somebody competent to do something. So it wouldn't have been any good for our team if I had rolled over and died at the start of the match like they did. I had to keep myself going until the end. Ended up being a lot closer than I'd hoped, but I think it helped at least somewhat make up for my tremendous fuck up earlier in the Panther 2.